Negotiating a contract used to take forever. Why? Because you have to gather a lot of context before you can make a good judgment call. Does this deviate from our internal playbook? Have we agreed to this position before? Is it market standard? How important is this deal to the business? Today, I'm going to show you how I use AI to gather that context faster and turn it into real negotiation leverage. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Legal Intelligence Platform Deep Dives, otherwise known as LIPS Deep Dives. My name is Anna, a lawyer that is trying to make sense of AI in the legal profession. Today, we're taking a look at SimpleDocs, a contract review and drafting platform built for in-house counsel. At its core is SimpleAI, a word add-in for AI-powered contract review, redlines, and drafting. It's also built on top of LawInsider, one of the largest commercial contract databases in the world. In the early days, the value proposition for these legal AI tools was very much about generating text at a very fast speed. So what is emerging now in legal AI adds something that is more important, which is called context. Now technology has advanced to the degree where it's easier for the users to get outputs that take into consideration more relevant context. And that is what I want to explore today with SimpleAI. Here I am with my good old friend, Microsoft Word, and my SimpleAI assistant ready to go. Today, I am an in-house counsel for a supplier, and I have just received these red lines on my template MSA from the counterparty legal counsel called Mary, representing Acme as the buyer. In the future, I think the following scenario would happen a lot, which is the lawyer would send out a draft template before lunch, thinking maybe there's going to be a bit of peace and quiet for at least a few days before the comments come back. But then the other side is using an AI assistant to redline and review the contract. So before you even finished lunch, the red lines would already be back in your inbox. So I want to show you how I would use a tool like SimpleAI to respond to the draft comments and figure out what to accept, what to reject, and where to push back on. You can see on the right-hand side that SimpleAI has a very, very easy to understand user interface. There are 7 core actions you can take on the home panel, and they involve redlining, drafting, comparing, review, custom playbooks, and standard playbooks, and precedent review. There's also a small chat bot at the bottom that you can interact with and query, but that's it. No prompt enhancers, no complex bells and whistles. What you see is what you get. When you see red lines like this, as a lawyer, you need to make a judgment call. Do you accept, reject, or mark up the markups? That decision needs to be backed by some context. And there are 4 pieces of context that matters here. The first one is, what does my playbook say? Does this deviate from my company's preferred position? The second piece of context is, have we agreed to a similar position before, either with this counterparty or with similar parties externally in the past? The third piece of context is, what are the market standards? Is this red line something that is very unusual, or is it very common? And the last piece of context that's helpful is the commercial context. How important is this client? And how urgent and big is this deal? So let's take a look at how SimpleAI can help me gather that context. The first thing I want to do is go to my playbooks and compare the markups against my own playbook to see whether there are any deviations from my internal policy. It's identified 25 issues for me to take a look at. And today, just because I did a quick skim, I will focus on clause 12.3, which is a liability cap, to see what the playbook analysis says about that. Because if you're a lawyer, your eyes will always go to indemnities and liability caps. Okay, so the playbook has flagged that the counterparty's counsel, Mary, has added a carve-out to our liability cap for confidentiality and data protection breaches. This is not good news because it deviates from my company's preferred position. So that's the first piece of really useful context.
One more thing on playbooks. When a clause is identified as missing, SimpleAI will propose a red line for you. And alongside that proposed clause, it gives you a LawInsider index score, which is essentially a similarity score, showing how closely the proposed language matches to the real contract clauses in the LawInsider database. So you can see how it's grounded in the market. And if you really want to go deeper into it, you can just double click on see all and it will take you into the LawInsider database to see the relevant clauses for yourself.
If there is a deviation from the playbook rules, I can do two things. I can either push back on this addition, or I can do a little bit of more research on whether we have ever agreed to this kind of carve out with external parties. And especially it would be helpful to know whether we have agreed to such a carve out with this company in particular, Acme. And I will do that through SimpleAI's precedent review feature. And what it does is you can upload into a repository all of your previously signed agreements. And this repository will then form your precedent library for you to refer back to and analyze against. And so today, because I am reviewing a MSA agreement draft, I will be choosing the MSA agreement type category. And ideally, I am looking for agreements that's been signed with Acme. So I'm going to select all Acme related options here and run my search. So you can see I have filtered for MSA signed with Acme. So this took a little bit over 2 minutes to run, which is pretty fast considering that it is comparing all of the markups in this document against the full set of 38 relevant precedents in my repository. I am focused on liability cap carve-outs in particular, and I see it has identified that in the past, we have never accepted any expansion to a liability cap, including adding a supplier unlimited carve out. So as soon as I click on it, it takes me exactly to where it is in the agreement. You can click into the precedents and you can see all here, the previous agreements that we've signed with Acme. It extracted an excerpt of the relevant clause, which is the limitation of liability clause. And if I don't trust this excerpt, I can further verify against the original document. And once you click on the document icon, it will pull up the PDF in the repository on the web app for you to double verify. Being able to see that we have never accepted such a carve out before is actually the most powerful piece of negotiation evidence I can have, because if you tell the counterparty this deviates from our internal policy, they can easily say, well, that sounds like your problem. And if you say, well, this isn't market standard, they may just come back with, well, it's standard for us. And you are suddenly stuck in a deadlock. But if you can say, well, we signed this agreement with you before and we have never accepted this position, this carve out was never part of the deal and we're not looking to reopen terms that were previously agreed to, that is so much harder to push back on. You're not arguing about internal preference, abstract market practice. You're pointing to exactly the history between the two parties of what was agreed to in the past. And in my experience as an in-house counsel, that is one of the hardest points to argue with. So the third layer of context that SimpleAI can also help you with is through the LawInsider's integration called LawInsider Standards. And what it does here is gives you access to market-informed playbooks. The last piece of context that is super important, but I think to date, no AI assistant can help you with, is understanding the commercial context of this specific deal. How strategic is the customer? How badly does the business want this contract to be signed? And what is the timeline for closing the deal? This will all help a lawyer decide whether it's a hill worth dying on or is it a risk worth taking. So at this point, you still need to go to the business team, grab lunch with them, hop on a call, and understand what matters to the other side and explain also what matters to the legal side before you make a decision on how you would redline this contract and provide your comments.
So lunch on me then today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we'll revert in an hour or two, seeing as you're using AI, right?
So that's how I used SimpleAI to boost my negotiation position as an in-house counsel for the supplier. That being said, SimpleAI is currently a contract AI assistant that lives in Word. So if you're a lawyer that wants to work on the go, maybe while you're hopping into a taxi and draft a contract via Slack or on your mobile or via web app, that is not something that SimpleAI can support you with today. However, if your team is looking for something that is approachable and easy to pick up and start using inside Word, then SimpleAI can be a great choice. By the way, if you're shopping for the right contract review tool for your legal team, Legal Benchmarks can help. We just put together the legal industry first AI evaluation framework with accompanying toolkits that consolidate input from more than 100 legal professionals from around the world on the buy side. It's designed to support you at every stage of your vendor evaluation journey, from demo to pilot. It's open access and it's free. More details are in the description. Hope you enjoyed this video today, and I would love to hear your experience using SimpleAI. And if there are any other tools you'd like me to take a look at, let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, hope you stay curious and healthy. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Mary, quick update on the SimpleAI MSA.
Yeah, it's signed. Yeah, we closed.
Oh, gee, that was fast. Any pushbacks on the liability carve-outs?
We aligned with our historical position, so all good there.
If this video piqued your interest about SimpleAI and SimpleDocs, check out my conversation with Preston Clark, the founder and CEO, where we talk about the competitor landscape and what it means to be transparent as a vendor in a very crowded legal AI market.